House. Meanwhile, President Trump is, as you might imagine, still very concerned about these leaks. Would more White House briefings help the matter? Of course, he's cut way back on them. Some people actually argue that the fewer briefings, the more tempting to hear from leakers or to try to extract information from those who might know it. Fox Business' Charlie Gasparino on that. He loves leakers, as you know. He's pro-leaking. We've got former Paul Bryan Chief of Staff David Hoppe and Independent Women's Forum President Carrie Lucas. Welcome to all. So what do you think happens? Do you have a theory? Here's my crackpot theory on this. When a president or even a company cuts back on its its dealings with the press, this thing is going to escalate. This type of leaking will escalate anyway. When it's a president who is at war with the press and the press with him, it really escalates.
Listen, I covered Wall Street for a long time, and I still do, but I covered it like daily as a beat, particularly at the Wall Street Journal. And Wall Street firms were very insular. They did not get press briefings. All I did all day was wake up trying to figure out how to crack them. And I cracked them a lot.
Yes, you did.
And I looked for stuff, and I found stuff, and I just hurt the stock. Sometimes I helped the stock, but either way, I kept them off.
The worst message one of their assistants could give these guys, Charlie Gasparino on line one.
Right, they despise me, but they did that because I woke up every day with this burning desire to break a story about Merrill Lynch back in the day,
right.
Citigroup particularly, did a lot of work on Citigroup, J.P. Morgan back in the day, the whole crew. So I don't think it works. But
if they didn't have a friendly press talking to you or trying to say, Charlie, you're wrong in this story, would you just keep going?
No, ask the people at Citigroup, who I roasted. Sandy Weill, to this day, despises me because I spent 3 years roasting him. John Thane, while he was at the New York Stock Exchange, 3 years roasting him because they didn't return my phone calls.
Wow.
It's just, listen, here's the thing.
You're a mean person.
You have targets and you have sources.
Right.
I hate to break it to you. That's journalism.
All right. Well, David, one of the things that's being raised already is whether the president, even with these tweets, keeps the argument going. Now, I understand what he's saying, and I don't believe he does get, whether you agree or disagree with him on certain policies, a fair shake from the press, because I do believe the press does hate him. I think that's fair to say. Now, who started what and how bad it is, I think the press should rightly be condemned for not even trying to balance things out. Leaving that aside, by cutting back on the briefings or keeping these gaggles even limited, does it force the press to do more of this stuff?
Well, controlling the narrative is terrifically important in politics, and you control the narrative by being both regular and consistent. And the second one of those is where the White House has some issues, because we've seen in a number of cases recently where the president will tweet something, then the press secretary and the press operation will follow him, then something else will be tweeted that looks like it's different from that.
But he gave it new life. See, he just gave it new life.
That's exactly right. There has to be a consistency and a control, but controlling the narrative and doing more of it, I think, is the best way to do that. But if you don't have consistency, then you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Carrie,
how bad is this?
I'm sorry. How bad is this going to get, Carrie, in your eyes, looking at this?
It's interesting because the president clearly loves the fact that he can get around the media by using things like Twitter. But that doesn't replace the idea that he needs to engage with the media and try to get the message or the story, the narrative, back on issues he wants to talk about. And
but his tweets consume the media. He's not getting around them. He gets the media to pounce on those and then use them as ammunition, right?
Sure, but he does at least get to talk to the American people.
True.
They hear directly from him. But he absolutely...
There's no rhyme or reason to what he does half the time. I mean, listen, I'm all for it. If I were on that side of the fence, I would say, yeah, let's stick it to the media. Let's use Twitter. Let's get our message out. But he's actually doing it in a self-defeating way because he doesn't even tell Sean Spicer what he's going to do. There's really no coordination here.
He needs to be trying to find ways to get back to the story he wants to talk about. He needs to be talking about things like health care and tax reform.
Well, like this one today is a good one. The theme should be, I want to dial back what the president did with Cuba, normalize relations with an abusive administration. I want to address it. But he veered off that.
There needs to be some discipline. There needs to be some discipline in the way they do things at the White House. And he can control certain things by using the Twitter account. But once again, if they don't have a thought process of where they're going and how they want to connect them,
Bingo.
that's where they have the
And a lot of
problems.
people in Conservative said a couple of weeks ago that I'm anti his tweeting. No, I'm anti his going way off the reservation and getting off what I think is the more productive message that a tweet could do.
I had dinner last night with people that advisors, outside advisors, people that know Trump very well, know the administration. His lawyers, Mark Kasowitz, his senior staff, they have just given up on trying to control him. They know what he's doing is self-defeating. Kasowitz knows it's self-defeating.
His personal lawyer.
Yeah, he knows it.
And Kasowitz, he's got to account for these tweets that are going to be used as evidence.
So allegedly, according to this source, and I believe this is true, Kasowitz asked Priebus or one of his inside advisors, can you get him to stop? And they were like, don't even ask.
So, Carrie, if that's the case, and I do
conversation.
think, the president can feed the beast by doing this sort of stuff. There's still going to be beastly to him. It's not a right, left, dark. It just is. I mean, I just think there's a bad relationship here. But this is not going to help matters any. But the president does enjoy a lot of core support for a lot of his core programs, the core initiatives, dare I say, even on this Cuban thing today. So I'm wondering, where does he go from here with this?
Absolutely. I think his team needs to realize that you can't control him. He's going to be tweeting on some things they don't want him to be.
It's like Charlie. We deal with it every day. We accept that. It's just part of the volcano that we accept as genius.
Exactly.
Right.
But they also have to try to have a proactive plan so that they can get back on message, because the real shame here is that so much of the narrative has moved away from things we want Americans talking about positive things like moving forward on tax reform, deregulation, health care reform.
Right.
These are the issues we need to get back on.
That's exactly right. The alternative to wall-to-wall Mueller is policy.
Right.
And there's a lot of
Yeah,
good policy the administration is pursuing. They ought to be consistent in talking about it and disciplined in talking about their policy.
Can I correct something, just a little
Please.
off topic?
Yeah.
In the earlier segment, you made it like you were a modern-day Warren Buffett, that you bought, holding Amazon forever.
No.
You failed to disclose that you sold GE.
Yes, I did. The day before you announced that. Yeah, hung on to that puppy for 20 years. Yeah.
So just be clear with the
I know.
audience,
Warren
okay?
Buffett, I am not. By the way, the big issue we're missing, Charlie, is Amazon taking over grocery stores like the aliens in that Twilight Zone episode. It's a cookbook. You realize that?
Well, did you get that from Alex Jones? I could have sworn he was on today about aliens and Amazon.
All right, go ahead. Laugh all you want. Remember this. All right. But I've enjoyed Gaspo's final appearance here, All right, we have a lot more